Today's topic is It's For You by Shanice, a 1993 classic that first appeared on the Meteor Man soundtrack and my all-time favorite 90s R&B song. I'll show you each of the chords, break them down, and talk about why this song is an evolution of the standard 90s R&B chord progression. Let's get started. We're in the key of A flat. This particular song is a bit more counterintuitive than usual because we have chords borrowed from the minor mode. We have C flat and F flat major, which most of us are used to calling B major and E major. For our main intro and chord progression, we start out on the borrowed flat 3 chord, C flat major 9. So C flat, which we usually think of as B, and then our 3rd, our 5th, our 7th, and our 9th. Major 9 chords sound beautiful, as we discussed at length on the last video on my favorite chord progression. The flat 3 chord also gives us an impression of a minor key right off the bat. From there, the bass moves down a half step to B flat, and the right hand moves down to this cluster to give us an A flat suspended 9/11 over B flat. So we have the B flat on bottom, which is our 9th technically, root, 9th, 11th, 5th. We can call this a suspended 1 chord over the 2nd scale degree or over the 9th. This is an odd chord that you might hear in neo-soul progressions. It doesn't have all the pitches that we would need to define it as an A flat major or a B flat minor 7. We do have 3 of the 4 notes all resolving down to the notes of the following 1 chord. So we have, from here we go from there to there, taking us to A flat major 9, our 1. In that sense, we can think of it as a substitution for where we might hear a 2 chord normally in a descending progression like Yesterday. So if this was Yesterday, we'd probably hear that 3, 2, 1 in the diatonic key, but here we have this flat 3 major 9, 1, 9, 11 suspended over 9, 1 major 9. In total, that lays out this part of the progression as a flat 3 major 9, to 1 suspended 9/11 over 9, to 1 major 9. It's a very cool sequence that we haven't heard before in any of the songs that I've covered. And the lack of dominant pull or resolution to establish a key center also builds anticipation for what comes next. Now we come to the part that we've heard before, but not quite like this. The famous flat 6, flat 7, 1 progression. What I've previously dubbed the 90s R&B progression. We're going to start this one in E natural in the left hand, which we're calling F flat, the flatted 6 in the key of A flat, and play something similar to the first half in the right hand. So instead of, we're going to go 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th. On top, we still have our A flat, our E flat, and our G flat, but instead of that D flat, we're using the B natural, which we're calling C flat here. This gives us all the notes for an F flat major 9 chord counting straight up from the bottom. Another beautiful chord. From there, we're going to use classic contrary motion by moving the right hand lower, while the left hand moves up to flat 7, G flat. The right hand moves down and plays the same notes that we heard on the middle chord in the first half. So A flat, B flat, D flat, E flat. And the trick here is that the context of those upper notes changes completely based on both the bass note, which is now G flat, and the chords on either side of it. So now we have a G flat root followed by the 9th, the 3rd, the 5th, and the 6th, giving us a colorful G flat 6-9, a very nice sounding chord. As with the other chords that use these notes in the right hand, much of the vibe comes from having two pairs of notes a whole step apart, right next to each other. So far we have... Finally, the left hand moves from flat 7 up to 1, A flat again, while the right hand uses the same downward voice leading we heard earlier to arrive at A flat major 9 again, this time in contrary motion with the left hand. This is also an example of that recurring 90s R&B trope, the flat 7 acting as a backdoor dominant that resolves us to the 1 chord. Altogether, that gives us a flat 6 major 9, flat 7 6-9, 1 major 9 progression. It's For You is great because it takes those classic 90s R&B chords that blur major and minor, and it builds anticipation by adding on 3 chords at the beginning of the sequence. We get the additional flavor of the flat 3 major 9 at the top, followed by the downward movement to the second dissonant ambiguous chord, before arriving at 1 in a way that sounds like a relief but doesn't quite feel like one. Then we get the expected flat 6, flat 7, 1, enhanced by the full use of major 9 voicings for the first and last chords, bookending the colorful flat 7 6-9 in the middle, and its smooth resolution to the lush tonic chord. We also have mirroring in both sections of the right hand part, with the last 2 voicings in each half being identical, and this giving the listener the conflicting impression of hearing the same right hand over both sets of chords, but also hearing them as distinct from one another because of the changes in the bass notes. Verses. So here's the whole chorus in sequence. There's one more thing to cover, and that's the verses. The verse is mostly based around a single vamp. We have flat 3 major 9, C flat, on the downbeat of each bar, followed by A flat suspended 9/11, hitting on the second half of the third beat. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. We do that for 3 bars in a row. Then on bar 4, we start on the C flat major 9 again. But then instead of moving downward, the song gets your attention by having the bass and the upper notes of the C flat major 9 chord Both move up by a half step to C natural major 9, the borrowed major 3 chord. So we have then we go for another 4 bars, repeating our initial 1 bar vamp before we return to the chorus. This is also the progression for the bridge and the rap that happens over that. I'm going to play a cycle of the whole thing in sequence, but before I play that, this is proof of how much I genuinely love this song and the Meteor Man movie and the Meteor Man soundtrack. So if you haven't seen it, y'all should check it out. I think it's great. In conclusion, It's For You is a great lesson on using a flat 7 6 9 chord to spice up a flat 6 flat 7 1 progression, using 1 suspended 9 11 over 2 as a substitute for the 2 chord in a descending 3 2 1 sequence, using a flat 3 major 9 1 suspended 9 11 over 2 1 major 9 sequence to extend the 90s R&B chord progression, and using mirrored right-hand voicings over different bass notes to create unity and contrast at the same time. That was our lesson on It's For You. I hope y'all enjoyed learning about my favorite 90s R&B song. If you want to support what I do, please like, subscribe, and comment, and go check out my Patreon in the description below. If you want to learn more about a more random selection of music, go check out my second channel, How Pop Music Works Live. Until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of someone else, and have a good day.